If everybody clapped for you, you are not doing anything worth talking about. You want the promotion, the relationship, the opportunity everybody dreams of. But the moment you hear no, you start acting like your whole life is over. Rejection did not break you. It introduced you to who you really are. I'm talking to the people who got left, got fired, got overlooked, we've decided to go in another direction. If that's you, lean in, you didn't die. You got an email, you got a text, you got silence. That's what happened. It feels big because it hit your expectations, but in reality, it's an event, not an ending. You are breathing, you are thinking. You are sitting here listening. That means it wasn't a final blow. It was a hit you can recover from. The problem is not the no you heard. The problem is the story you told yourself after you heard it. They said, we're not moving forward. And you translated that into, I will never move forward. They said, you are not a fit. And you translated that into, I don't fit anywhere. That translation is where you bury yourself alive. When you treat one rejection like a funeral, you start dressing your future in black. You expect disappointment, so you stop trying hard. You expect people to leave, so you push them away first. You expect failure, so you don't fully commit to anything. You have to learn to say, this hurt me, but it did not end me. Let the moment be what it is, a moment, not a prophecy, not a curse, not a lifetime sentence, just one chapter that doesn't get to rewrite the whole book. Every great story has ugly scenes. The hero gets knocked down, betrayed, fired, and abandoned. If nobody walks out on you, if nobody turns you down, if nobody doubts you, then your story won't inspire anyone, including. The power of your story comes from the fact that you kept going after something that tried to stop you. Start separating the event from your identity. I lost that job is a fact. I'm a loser is a lie. I got dumped is a fact. I'm unlovable is a lie. Once you stop turning facts into funerals, you start turning pain into power. They can strip a title. They can cancel a contract. They can walk out of your life. What they cannot do is reach inside your soul and fire you from what you were put here to do. Your purpose doesn't sit in a job description or a relationship status. Your purpose is built into your wiring, your gifts, your heart, your story. If losing one role destroyed your entire sense of self, that means you confused your assignment with your identity. You thought being manager or husband or top student was who you are instead of just what you were doing in that season. When the season ended, you decided to end it with that. That's why you feel empty. You anchored yourself to a position instead of your purpose. Purpose is the thing you would still lean toward even if nobody paid you, nobody clapped, nobody posted you. It's the way you naturally solve problems, the way you naturally care, create, lead, build, encourage, fix, and teach. You can do that in 100 different settings with 100 different titles. So why are you acting like one lost title erased your reason for being? Sometimes getting fired is just life saying you were playing too small with what I gave you. You got comfortable. You settled. You lived under someone else's ceiling. So the rug had to get pulled for you to realize your gift was bigger than that little box you were sitting in. You didn't get kicked out of life. You got kicked out of your comfort zone. Look back at your life. This isn't the first time you thought, I don't know how I will bounce back from this. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still with something pulling at you from the inside. That pull, that's the purpose. It survived every breakup, every layoff, every failure you have had. If it survived all that, why would you talk like it died this time? Remind yourself, I lost a role, not my reason. I lost a job, not my gift. I lost a person, not my ability to love. When you see it that way, rejection becomes a redirection away from what you outgrew and toward what you are built for. You weren't fired from your purpose. You were freed to find a better way to live it. Too many of you hand your entire destiny to one human opinion. One person says, you are not what we're looking for. And you stamp that on your forehead like it's an eternal truth. You let limited people make unlimited statements about you. That's how you end up living small, because someone with a small vision told you no. You need to understand something. People see through the lens of their fears, their history, their biases, their preferences. They are not rejecting the deepest truth of who you are. They are reacting to what they can understand right now. Their no often has more to do with their comfort zone than your capacity. You are letting someone's comfort level define your calling. Think about how many people said no to ideas that changed the world. How will that ever work? Nobody wants that. It's too crazy. If the inventors, the artists, the leaders, the innovators had taken those early no's as the final word, half of what you enjoy today wouldn't even exist. You are living proof that other people's no is not the end. You have got to stop treating temporary gatekeepers like they are permanent gods. A casting director, a hiring manager, a professor, a partner, they are human, flawed, limited. They can say no to letting you into their world, but they cannot say no to you creating your own. Stop trying to squeeze your future into the space of people who can't see past their own doorway. Every time someone tells you no, ask yourself, what authority am I giving this person over my identity? Are they allowed to say, you didn't get this role? Sure, but are you permitting them in your head to say, you are not talented. You are not worthy. You will never make it. That's the part you need to snatch back. So the next time you hear, we're going in a different direction, hear it for what it is, information, not condemnation. Information that you weren't their pick, not information that you are unpickable. Information that this path is closed, not information that every path is closed. Their no is just data you use while you keep moving towards something greater. Rejection is a punch in the chest. It knocks the wind out of you. You refresh your email like it might change. You replay the conversation in your head. You stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering what you did wrong, what you could have said, how you could have been different. That pain is real, and you don't heal by pretending it's not. Some of you were taught to just be strong, which really meant be numb. So you push it down, laugh it off, or drown it out with noise, people, distractions, and bad habits. But what you don't face, you carry. And the rejection you refuse to feel becomes the insecurity that quietly controls you. You are allowed to be heartbroken. You are allowed to sit on the floor and cry until there are no tears left. You are allowed to say, this shattered me. Honesty is not weakness. It's the first step toward getting your power back. But pain has to have an expiration date as your master. You can't make your wound your identity. You can't keep introducing yourself to life as the one who got left, the one who got fired, the one who was never picked. At some point, you have to decide, I went through that, I am not that. Set a boundary with your sorrow. Tell yourself, I'm going to be honest about how I feel. I'm going to talk about it, journal it, pray on it, and maybe get help for it. But I am not going to chain my entire future to this moment. Grieve what could have been and then make room for what still can be. You stand up not because the pain magically vanished, but because staying down hurts worse. You don't need to wait until you feel nothing to move again. You can move with tears in your eyes. You can work with a bruise on your heart. You can build while you are still disappointed, as long as you are not building a shrine to your rejection. So let it hurt. Let it break you open. Let it wash out what needs to go. Then choose to get up, not because you are over it, but because you deserve a life that's bigger than the moment that hurts you. Rejection becomes poison when it turns you into a beggar for approval. You start campaigning for people who've already cast their vote. You send another text they ignore. You take another shift they don't respect. You accept behavior that disrespects you just so you won't be alone. That's not love. That's fear dressed up as loyalty. Any space where you have to shrink yourself to stay is a space you should be planning to leave. If they only tolerate you when you are quiet, agreeable, useful, or broken, they don't value you. They value what they can get from you. You shouldn't have to dim your light to keep people comfortable. You shouldn't have to swallow your truth so they will let you sit at their table. When people really want you around, you don't have to chase them to be seen. You don't have to keep throwing proof of your worth like confetti. You don't have to earn a spot every single day with emotional gymnastics. You show up as you are, and they meet you there. Begging steals your dignity. It makes you lie about what you need, lie about what hurts, lie about who you are just to keep somebody from walking away. You end up abandoned in a room full of people because they never actually saw the real you. They saw the version you performed to avoid rejection. That is a slow kind of self-destruction. Sometimes the bravest thing you will ever do is stop knocking on a door that's already slammed shut. Not because you couldn't force it open, but because you decided yourself respect is worth more than someone's reluctant acceptance. You don't want to be where you have to constantly convince them you are not a burden. You want to be where you are treated like a blessing without having to beg. There are rooms where you fit without auditioning. Some people will choose you without you having to twist into shapes you don't recognize. But you won't find them while you are camped out in places that keep reminding you you are too much or not enough. You have got to walk away from counterfeit belongings to find the real thing. So stop begging to belong where rejection already spoke. Stand up, gather your dignity, and take your heart somewhere it's not treated like an inconvenience. Some of the things you are crying over would have crushed you if you'd actually gotten them. You are weeping over the relationship that ended, not realizing you were about to sign up for years of cheating, lying, and broken promises. You are mad about the job you lost, not knowing that the company was on the edge of collapse and would have dragged you down with it. You are bitter about the deal that fell apart, not seeing that those people were going to exploit and control you. You only see the front of the door. You don't see what's waiting on the other side. You see the salary, the title, the romance, the spotlight. You don't see the burnout, the mental breakdowns, the lawsuits, the affairs, the secrets, the shame. Sometimes that no is the only thing standing between you and a disaster wearing a nice outfit. There are opportunities that look like blessings, but function like traps. They feed your ego while starving your soul. They give you attention while draining your character. A closed door can be mercy you don't recognize yet. Think back on your life. How many times did you want something so bad, and years later you said, I am so glad that didn't work out? You thought they were the one. Now you see how they treat their current partner, and you say, wow, I dodged a bullet. You thought that job was your dream. Then you hear how toxic the environment is and realize you were spared. Hindsight has a way of revealing that rejection was protection. When you scream, why is this happening to me? Consider flipping the question, what might this be saving me from? Maybe it's saving you from becoming a version of yourself you wouldn't respect. Maybe it's saving you from settling for less than you are capable of. Maybe it's saving you from tying your life to people who don't have your best interest at heart. This doesn't mean every closed door is some mystical sign. Sometimes it's just timing, logistics, or people's choices. But even then, your life can use those closed doors to redirect you to better paths. The key is not to camp out in front of a locked entrance, acting like the entire building of your future just collapsed. So when a door slams in your face, allow for the possibility that you were just spared from something your emotions were too invested in to see clearly. You don't have to like it to be grateful for it later. Not every no is injustice. Some of them are wake-up calls. You weren't passed over because the world hates you. You were passed over because you were unprepared. You didn't get the second date because your unresolved issues showed up before you did. You didn't get promoted because your work ethic and your attitude didn't match the position you wanted. It's easier to label everyone a hatter than to ask, what did I bring to the table? Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. You were late. You were inconsistent. You were entitled. You lacked skill. You didn't listen. That doesn't mean you are worthless. It means you are human and you have gaps. Denial keeps those gaps open. Honesty lets you start closing them. Rejection is like an X-ray. It shows you what's broken or weak that you couldn't see on the surface. If 3 employers tell you the same thing, that's not a conspiracy. That's a pattern. If three partners say the same thing about how you handle conflict, that's not just their issue, that's feedback. Patterns are your invitation to grow up, not give up. You've got to develop the maturity to separate malicious rejection from constructive rejection. Malicious rejection attacks your worth. Constructive rejection challenges your worth. One says, you are nothing. The other says, you are not ready. If you treat both as the same, you will either become arrogant or ashamed instead of improve. Instead of asking, why don't they see how great I am? Start asking, where can I get better? Can you sharpen your skills, work on your communication, heal your past trauma so you stop bleeding on people who didn't cut you? Can you take a class, get a mentor, practice more, listen more, apologize more? That's how you turn every rejection into a training session. Nothing changes if you keep defending your weakness instead of developing your strength. The world doesn't owe you a spot just because you want it badly. Wanting it is the spark. Working for it is the fire. Rejection points to where you still need to build the heat. So the next time you hear no, don't just get mad, get curious. Ask what this moment is trying to teach you, fix what you can fix, and watch how many no's turn into now you are ready. You messed up the interview, bombed the audition, stumbled through the presentation. That was a bad day, not a bad you. But you took that one shaky moment and used it as proof that you are permanently broken. You keep rerunning the tape of what went wrong like it's your entire identity. That's how you let one performance steal years of potential. You have got to stop confusing results with worth. If your whole self-esteem rises and falls with every win and loss, you are going to live on an emotional roller coaster. When they clap, you feel like a king. When they criticize, you feel like trash. You become addicted to external validation because you don't have an internal foundation. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall, they wobble, they crash into furniture. Nobody picks them up and says, clearly, walking just isn't for you. Stay on the floor for life. We understand that falling is part of learning, except when it's us doing the falling. You need to extend to yourself the same patience you'd give to a child learning something new. You are going to say the wrong thing sometimes, pick the wrong partner, take the wrong job, invest in the wrong idea. That doesn't mean a failure, that makes you alive. Life is trial and error. You just broadcast your errors more loudly to yourself than your trials. When you tie your value to performance, you will avoid taking risks that might expose your imperfections. You won't apply, won't try, won't love, won't dream because if I fail, it means I'm nothing. So you live small, safe, and miserable just to protect a fragile sense of self. That's not protection. That's a slow death of your potential. Start telling yourself the truth. I am valuable before I achieve anything, and I am valuable after I mess up everything. From that place, you can evaluate your performance without condemning yourself. You can say, I didn't do well there, I can fix that. Instead of, I am not well, I am broken. Correction without condemnation is how you grow. So hold your head up after a loss. You can be disappointed without being destroyed, embarrassed without being erased. You are allowed to demand more from yourself tomorrow without calling yourself worthless today. You keep auditioning for your dream in front of people who've never chased one of their own. You are begging folks who gave up on themselves to believe in you. Of course, they don't see it. They traded their own purpose for comfort years ago. You are asking them to co-sign a risk they were too scared to take. Some people need your vision to fail so they feel better about not trying. If you win, they have to face what they could have been doing with their life. So they poke holes, they raise doubts, they roll their eyes, they call you unrealistic. Understand, their reaction says more about their fear than your future. Your gift was not issued with a committee vote. It was woven into you quietly. How you think, how you feel, how you solve problems, how you create. Nobody else was in the room when that happened. So why do you think they get the final say on what you do with it? Look at history. So many people were laughed at before they were applauded, told it wouldn't work, told nobody would care, told to be reasonable. If they had waited for widespread approval before they moved, nothing great would exist. Approval is often late to the party where your courage started. You need to get comfortable with misunderstood seasons. Times when your family doesn't get it, your friends don't get it, and your coworkers think you are crazy. You work early, stay late, study on weekends, and practice in silence. They think you are wasting time. You know you are investing. That doesn't mean you ignore all advice. It means you learn to weigh advice based on who it's coming from. Someone who's built something, risked something, sacrificed something. Listen to them. Someone who's never stepped out of the boat telling you you will drown in the water. Take that with a grain of salt. So stop delaying your purpose, waiting for a standing ovation. Most of the world will clap after they see results, not before. Your job is to move anyway. When rejection hits, your mind wants to use the pain as evidence. See, I knew I wasn't good enough. You gather every no you have ever gotten, stack them up into a case against yourself. You become your own prosecutor, listing all your failures, weaknesses, and shortcomings. You are building a prison out of moments that were supposed to make you stronger. Pain can either be a wall or a weapon. As a wall, it blocks you from trying again. As a weapon, it cuts through your excuses and laziness and forces you to level up. The same hurt that tells you stop can also tell you train. Think about athletes who lose a big game. They don't just cry and retire. They watch the tape. They see where they got outplayed, outworked, outplanned. They turn embarrassment into energy. They let the memory of the loss push them through sprints, drills, and extra hours in the gym. You can do the same thing with your rejection. Did the interview go badly? Replay it and fix your answers. Did the relationship fall apart? Look at your patterns and emotional triggers. Did the business fail? Study what you didn't know about money, marketing, and leadership. If you only focus on how much it hurts, you will miss how much it can help. Pain wakes you up. It shows you where you were careless, where you were naive, where you ignored red flags. It teaches you that certain areas of your life are not as strong as you thought. That's not a reason to quit. That's a blueprint for getting better. Refuse to let rejection become your favorite excuse. I'd try, but remember what happened last time. You keep dragging an old wound into new opportunities as justification for staying small. Put that same energy into preparation instead of protection. So when it stings, don't just say, this proves I'm not enough. Say, this proves where I need to grow. Let the pain push you into the version of you that's too prepared to be easily dismissed. Every rejection presents you with a fork in the roadie. Raise your standard or polish your excuse. You can say, this is unfair and stop, or you can say, this is hard and step up. You can blame the company, the system, the economy, and sometimes they are part of the problem. But if you stop there, you hand your entire future over to forces you can't control. Life is not equally fair, but it is consistently demanding. It demands discipline, growth, humility, patience, and resilience from everyone. You might have to work twice as hard to get half as far. That's real for a lot of people, but you decide whether that's going to be your excuse or your edge. Excuses feel comforting in the moment because they take the pressure off. It's not me, it's them. But that same comfort keeps you exactly where you are. You trade possibility for temporary relief. Upgrading your standard looks like asking more of yourself than your circumstances require. If the job calls for basic skills, you push for mastery. If the relationship calls for being good enough, you work on being emotionally healthy, honest, and mature. If the industry is cutthroat, you build integrity and excellence anyway. You start saying things like, I will not show up unprepared. I will not give half effort. I will not let fear run my life. You stop being okay with, I did the bare minimum. Why didn't it work out? You measure yourself by your own potential, not other people's laziness. Rejection stops being a verdict and becomes a progress report. So when you get turned down, ask yourself, is there a standard I need to raise here? Instead of collecting reasons why it couldn't work, start building reasons why next time it will. Excuses keep your pride safe. Higher standards build your future. Rejection hits different depending on who you are around when it happens. If your circle is full of people who secretly enjoy watching you fail, every no becomes entertainment. They will nod, pretend to care, then say, well, what did you expect? Their energy confirms your worst fears about yourself. You need people who can sit with you in the pain, but won't let you drown in it. Folks who will say, yeah, that sucked, and then follow it up with, okay, what are we going to do about it? Not the ones who feed your bitterness, but the ones who feed your belief that you still have more in you. That's what builders do. They help you construct, not collapse. Judges point out what went wrong and then walk away. Builders point out what went wrong and then roll up their sleeves. Judges criticize from the sidelines. Builders get on the field with you, even if it's just with advice, encouragement, or a tough conversation. If every time you share a dream or a hurt, the people around you respond with sarcasm, dismissal, or gossip, you are in the wrong room. You don't need people who constantly make you defend your right to want more. You need people who remind you of who you are when rejection makes you forget. People whose presence makes quitting feel out of character. This doesn't mean only surround yourself with cheerleaders. Real builders will challenge you. They will tell you when you are slipping, when you are making excuses, when you are self-sabotaging. But even their correction is rooted in belief, not in contempt. You can feel the difference between someone tearing you down and someone calling you up. Take inventory of your circle after a rejection. Who checked on you? Who told you to keep going? Who helped you improve? And who used your pain as gossip, stayed silent, or straight up enjoyed your setback? That list will tell you who's for you and who's just around you. So choose builders. Choose people who see the no, feel the sting with you, then remind you that there's still a yes out there worth fighting for. Most people only want to work when someone is watching. They want the stage, not the practice, the job, not the preparation, the relationship, not the growth. So when rejection puts them back in the dark, they treat it like a punishment instead of a training ground. They waste the very season that could make them unstoppable. The quiet seasons after rejection are not empty. They are loaded with time to study what you didn't know, to practice what you couldn't do, to heal what you refused to face. But if you spend that time scrolling, complaining, sulking, and comparing, you come out of the dark the same as you went in. Then you blame life for not changing. You say, nobody's calling me, like that means you are off the hook from growing. You say, nobody wants me, like that means you don't need to work on your heart, your patterns, your communication. You say, nobody's hiring, like that means you should stop learning new skills. The lack of attention is not permission to be lazy. Think of the greats in any field, music, sports, business, art. Their real work was done before the applause ever hit. Hours alone rehearsing, studying, failing in private, fixing what nobody knew was broken. By the time the spotlight found them, they were ready because they'd been ready. Rejection gives you something rare: time without expectations. No deadlines, no pressure to perform, no audience to impress. Use that to experiment, to learn, to become someone who can't be easily dismissed. So when the next door opens, you walk through it like you belong there. If you refuse to prepare in the dark, you will keep embarrassing yourself in the light. You will keep getting opportunities you are not ready for, then calling yourself cursed when they fall apart. You don't need more chances until you do more with the chances you already had. Quiet work makes public wins. So when things go silent, don't assume you have been forgotten. Assume you are being given a window to become so sharp, so solid, so skilled that the next rejection has to think twice before it shows up. Bitterness feels powerful at first. You replay what they did, what they said, and how they left. You build a case against them in your head and win every argument. But while you are winning imaginary battles, you are losing real time and energy. Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for it to get sick. They are out living their life, making new choices, forgetting details you still remember word for word. You are the one losing sleep, losing peace, losing opportunities because your heart is too heavy to move freely. Bitterness keeps you tied to a chapter that doesn't deserve a sequel. Every rejection has two parts, the event and the interpretation. You can't change the event. They left, they said no, they picked someone else. But you can change how you let it live inside you. You can decide whether it becomes a reminder or a ruler. The lesson might be hard. I ignored the red flags. I rushed in. I didn't prepare. I trusted too quickly. Owning your part is painful because it means admitting you weren't just a victim, you were a participant. But that's where your power is, in what you can do differently next time. If it's all their fault, then you have no control. If you had a part, you could change that part. Leaving bitterness doesn't mean what they did was okay. It doesn't erase the fact that you were hurt, lied to, betrayed, or used. It just means you are done letting that moment write your future. You are done giving them free rent in your head and free control over your emotions. You can remember without reliving. You can say, I learned from that, without saying, I will never trust again. I will be wiser, without saying, I will be colder. Lessons make you sharper. Bitterness makes you harder, and hard things break easier. So take the wisdom and leave the poison. Let the rejection shape your standards, not your heart. Let it teach you boundaries, not build you a prison. Persistence is not about repeating the same weak attempt forever. It's not keep doing exactly what you did. And eventually someone will say yes. That's not persistence, that's stubbornness. Real persistence means you keep showing up smarter than last time. If you got turned down, don't just find a new door. Fix your knock, update your resume, learn how to interview, study how to pitch, and work on your communication. If a relationship ended, don't just look for a new person. Work on how you show up, how you listen, how you handle conflict. You are the common denominator in all your situations. Try again. Only works if you improve again. Every rejection is information. What they needed, what you didn't show, what you didn't know. You can choose to take it personally or practically. Personally, it crushes you. Practically, it coaches you. You might have to knock on 20 doors to get one yes. But if you are getting better with every door, by the time you hit door 20, you are not the same person who knocked on door 1. You are sharper, calmer, more confident, and more prepared. At that point, the yes is not luck, it's harvest. Sometimes you stop one door too soon. You let the last no convince you that none of this is worth it, that maybe you are not cut out for it. But you never saw how close you were to the one opportunity that would have made sense of all the others. The only thing that guarantees you will never see it is quitting. This isn't about becoming desperate. It's about becoming determined. Desperate means you will take anything from anyone just to feel chosen. Determined means you keep your standards while you improve your efforts. You are not begging, you are building. So keep knocking, but with upgraded knuckles. Let every no strengthen your technique, not weaken your spirit. At some point, the door isn't doing you a favor by opening. You have simply become too prepared to ignore. You are waiting for a title to start behaving like you matter. I will work harder once I get the job. I will be faithful once I find the right person. I will be disciplined once I get the opportunity. You have got it backwards. The habits come before the promotion. If you only give your best after somebody chooses you, you are giving them all the power. They get to decide when you start taking your life seriously. And if they never choose you, you never step into who you could have been. That's too much control to give anyone over your potential. Start treating yourself like you are already carrying something valuable. You don't need a contract to start training like a professional. You don't need a big audience to start creating like your work matters. You don't need a ring to start becoming the kind of person who can love and be loved well. When you carry yourself like you are chosen, you make different decisions. You don't throw yourself at people who don't respect you. You don't waste entire seasons on habits that keep you stuck. You don't talk to yourself like you are trash just because somebody else treated you that way. This isn't arrogance, it's stewardship. You are saying, I believe something was put in me on purpose, and I'm going to act like it even if nobody else sees it yet. You are not waiting for external confirmation to start internal transformation. That way, when opportunity arrives, it meets a version of you that's ready. People can feel when you value yourself. You walk differently, speak differently, and respond to rejection differently. Not chosen for this role doesn't translate into I'm nothing because you were already walking in your worth before they gave you their opinion. They are choosing whether they get access to you, not whether you have value. So start now. Live like you have something significant to offer, even while you are still being overlooked. Let your preparation be proof to yourself that you were chosen long before anybody picked you. You can't heal from what you keep denying. I don't care they left. I didn't want that job anyway. It's whatever. Meanwhile, your chest is tight, your mind is racing, and you flinch every time your phone buzzes. You are pretending it didn't matter because you are scared that if you admit it did, it will break you. Acceptance doesn't mean you liked it. It means you stopped lying about it. Yes, I wanted that. Yes, it hurt when I didn't get it. Yes, I felt small when they chose someone else. When you say the truth out loud, it loses some of its power to haunt you in the dark. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. But accepting the rejection is not the same as accepting the limit it tries to put on you. The event says, you didn't get this. The limit says, you will never get anything like this. You can agree with the event and disagree with the limit. Rejection will always try to tell you a bigger story than it actually is. It will say, see, nobody wants you when it was one person. It will say, you are not cut out for this when it was one attempt. You have to shorten the story back to the facts, or you will live trapped in an exaggeration. So you practice talking back to it. Yes, that door closed, but I'm still knocking. Yes, they walked away, but I'm still capable of love and growth. Yes, I failed there, but I'm still learning and improving. You accept that this chapter didn't go how you planned, but you refuse to write the ending based on one scene. You accept that they said, no, not here, but you refuse to translate that into no, not ever. You accept that it hurts, but you refuse to let that hurt be the loudest voice in your life. You listen to the part of you that still wants more, still believes, still reaches. And you move forward carrying the truth that being rejected from something is not the same as being disqualified from everything.